So I'm not sure if you guys saw what Cam Newton recently had to say about some quarterbacks who he calls game managers, but it became a big topic the past few days. And one of those guys he said who he believes is a game manager is Dak Prescott. He said it along with Prescott, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, Tua. And I want to read this quote he had to say, and then I want to ask the question here to you guys, which I actually already did earlier today on my community tab. Would you rather have Jordan Love or Dak Prescott for the next 10 years? And I'm going to give my opinion, and then I'll share as well what the stats are right now for the poll. So this is what Cam Newton had to say. Here's a screenshot from Bleacher Report. Game manager is not a negative connotation. Cam, what do you mean by game manager? My definition of that managing player is a player who has the ability to make the right play at the right time, protecting the football at all costs. When I think about ultimate elite game managers, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady. Game changer and game manager is not something where I'm saying this person is not physically capable of making some great plays. I'm not saying that, or I'm not saying that they're not good players. There's really only 3 to potentially 5 game changers in the NFL right now. Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes. So he even thinks that Manning, Brees, and Brady are elite game managers. And, of course, the internet went crazy when he called Dak Prescott a game manager, considering, recently he's been playing a lot better, probably had the best season so far of his career. And I understand what Cam Newton is saying, because I think when you think about quarterbacks and guys that you may rather have, I probably would rather have Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Burrow, or Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion. And I do think they have that extra factor, like that wow factor, that ability to escape, make crazy plays. Maybe not as much Joe Burrow in that conversation, but those guys sort of have a little bit something extra. And I think Dak Prescott's a very good quarterback, but I tend to agree with Cam Newton. And I feel like with the game manager discussion for years had been it still has a negative connotation among people. And so if Cam Newton is saying that only 5 guys right now are not game managers, then clearly I think that changes the way that people actually see game managers and who is a game manager, who isn't a game manager. Because I feel like in the past it was more so like guys who would be maybe like the 15th ranked quarterback who play pretty good but aren't elite, like Jimmy Garoppolo back in the day with the 49ers. And so now when it comes to Jordan Love and Dak Prescott, I was just thinking about these two guys, and I was just curious to see, okay, for the next 10 years, who would you rather have? And the result of the poll were interesting. And of course, this is a Packers channel, so I would assume the poll results would be much different if I asked this, if we could somehow get a actual NFL community, not just a Packers community, because there's no doubt that this poll shows that we love Jordan Love. So when I asked this poll, so far 1,800 have voted. 88% would rather have Jordan Love for the next 10 years. Only 12% choose Dak Prescott. And what would I pick? I would pick Jordan Love as well. Here's the reason. When we sort of look at Cam Newton, his talk about game changer versus game manager, I think that Jordan Love has sort of showed some game changer type abilities. There's been moments where you're like, this guy could end up being one of the great quarterbacks, top 5 quarterback, a guy who you know you can rely on, a Patrick Mahomes type, not necessarily Patrick Mahomes, but a guy who can do crazy things in the pocket, make every kind of possible throw, jump one way, throw to another, Josh Allen type throws. We've seen that from Jordan Love, and I think it's because he's an incredible athlete. He's tall, he's strong, he can move very well. And with Dak Prescott, he definitely isn't that kind of quarterback. He's not the guy, he's not a Josh Allen type, he's not a Patrick Mahomes type, or even a Jordan Love type athlete. And so because of that, I think he lacks those wow plays. Not that he doesn't have good plays, but those plays that only certain guys can make because of their athletic ability. And considering Jordan Love is still in his first season starting, it's tough to know what his career is going to be like. And I think up to this point, we sort of know what Dak Prescott and sort of who he is. For majority of his career, he's been a solid quarterback who I don't think has reached the upper echelon of QBs until really this season. Last season, he had 23 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, was definitely a down year. And this year, he has really taken a huge step forward when it comes to pretty much every aspect of his game, with Mike McCarthy taking over the play calling with the Dallas Cowboys. And I just think that the reason I would still pick Jordan Love is because I still think that he has higher upside than Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott is safer, and it's not like he's a mid quarterback. I'd say he's probably up there near the top 10 in my opinion. There's no doubt that this season he's really played at that level. But with Jordan Love, you do have that chance that he is a Josh Allen type, Patrick Mahomes type, Aaron Rodgers type, and it's still young in his career. And we still need to see what happens as his time progresses forward. But if I had to pick right now for my franchise for the Packers, I would definitely go with Jordan Love because I just think he really has that wow factor, that ability to make the crazy throws. And also, too, we've seen how he can play at the end of games when in big moments. Last week against the Giants, scores a touchdown with how many seconds was it? Like a minute and 20, something like that remaining. And I think we're just going to see more and more of that as Love continues to play, continues to get more opportunities. And if you look at Dak Prescott's first 3 or so years, his stats in the NFL, they're like fine seasons, but they're not any season where you go like, wow, that's amazing. Where if I pulled up right here, his first 3 years, 23 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's pretty good. Next year, 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Next year, 22 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So he was fine, but I wouldn't say he was playing really, really well. It wasn't until 2019 had a great season. 2021 maybe his best, maybe besides this year, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. But Dak Prescott seems to be a little bit more up and down when it comes from season to season. He occasionally has a really good season, and then he also has some seasons where you're like, that's not what we were expecting or hoping for this year. And also, too, if you look at Dak Prescott in the playoffs, he's been fine, but he hasn't been great. He has a total of 11 touchdowns and 5 interceptions in his career in the playoffs. He's 2-4 in the playoffs. And I think the thing that would really make people's minds fully be changed on Dak Prescott, which I think has happened a lot this season because of how well he's played and his stats this year. But if Dak Prescott were to take the Cowboys deep in the playoffs, at least an NFC championship, if not a Super Bowl, I think that's when the entire narrative around Dak Prescott fully changes, because there's still this idea that, especially from Cam Newton as well, that he is just managing the game well. And of course, you need your quarterback to manage the game well. Even Aaron Rodgers, of course, managed the game well. But Cam Newton was saying, a game changer is one who can sort of take a game over and do it themselves, where these game managers need everyone else around them. And I would say that any quarterback needs some talent around them, but I get what he's saying. These quarterbacks who can elevate your entire team, your entire roster, like a Josh Allen, where when you need something to happen, you can rely on him, or you can rely on Patrick Mahomes, to get the job done. And I think that Jordan Love has the ability to reach that level. I really do. It's still too early to know for sure if he will, but I think we've seen flashes of it from Jordan Love, and considering it's his first season and he still has his entire career ahead of him, I just think the upside from Dak Prescott to Jordan Love, it's just lopsided a little bit. I think Jordan Love has a much higher upside for the rest of his career. And of course, Dak Prescott is a little bit older, but even if you took away the thought of age, I still think that Jordan Love has a ceiling that is still untapped. And I think we're going to see more of that as these receivers grow and develop and, I guess become better in the offense and understand the scheme more and continue to build that chemistry, because Jordan Love is operating with one of the youngest offense in the NFL. And so that's my opinion on the situation. If you haven't shared yours in the poll I did, feel free to comment your thoughts in the description down below. And I get people who would pick Dak Prescott, because I would bet you that most of the NFL right now would pick Dak Prescott. Other NFL fan bases probably, but I think all of us Packers fans, we see what Jordan Love can be. We love Jordan Love as a person, the kind of guy he is. He's a very calm, cool, collected individual, a guy who I think that is going to make Packers fans happy for a long, long time, in my opinion. So I see why we all have a strong bias towards Jordan Love, and I'm in the same boat with the 88% of you guys that said Jordan Love. But that is all I have for this video. If you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.